Do you remember who you are? I mean, really remember. Do you know everything that you represent, all that you're about, what you really love and care about, and who you are at the depth of your being? I know that seems kind of like a duh kind of question, right? Like, of course I know who I am. But here's the thing. So many women, I ask that question when I challenge them to really give me an answer to, who are you? You know, what do you remember about who you really are? Their answers are often all around defining themselves in the roles. I'm a mother, I'm an executive, I'm a business owner, you know, I'm a PTA coordinator or whatever it is, right? And they're not really looking at who they are at the deeper core. That is what today's video is about. We're going to look at that, the cost of not remembering and the benefits of remembering, why it's so important. And if you're new to the channel, I hope that you'll subscribe and click the notification bell, because these videos are here for you, to serve you to feel more empowered, more authentic, more resonant with your true self, and be able to live life in a more holistic way that really allows you to feel empowered. All right? So, remembering who you are. First of all, if you don't remember, who will? In other words, when we remember who we are, we show up as who we are, right? We don't get lost in the roles that we play. We don't get lost in the shoulds and the way that we think we're supposed to be showing up. We truly remember. When we don't remember, there are costs, and I want to list a few of those costs for you. One is, often we sell our soul. We literally sell out. We say yes to things we mean no to, or no to things we really should be saying yes to, in order to honor our true soul's longing, our true path, right? We start selling our soul. We give up on our dreams. We forget what really matters to us. We adopt the rules and the values of society instead of really asking ourselves, what is it that I care about? You know, who am I? How am I here to show up in this lifetime, right? Another is that we often end up feeling lost. We can feel incredibly lost when we are not remembering who we are. It's like remembering who we are gives us an anchor. It allows us to have some kind of direction and purpose. And there are so many of us out there, even just the past couple of years have shaken us all to our core. And we're really questioning, what do I really want? Who am I? What's next for me? How do I move forward from this? And so many different questions living, and at the core of so much of it is this notion of remembering who we are, okay? Another is that without remembering, we can begin to feel burnt out, right? Because we're going, doing, pushing, and we really forget the sense of balance, the holistic nature of our being, the balance of masculine and feminine. The masculine wants to push and do and force, and the feminine wants to be able to step back and open ourselves up and allow ourselves to flow and create greater balance and equilibrium. These are all qualities of the feminine, but our patriarchal dominance culture is kind of designed to help us forget who we are, to push us toward ignoring the truth of who we are, okay? And that can create tremendous burnout and exhaustion. And that is something we are seeing so much of, this high stress, high anxiety, high overwhelm state that many of us are in. And I really believe that so much of that comes from not truly remembering who we are. Okay, another is that we tend to, along with the burnout, feel anxious, right? We're kind of, oh, what's next? What if this isn't right? What if that? And we have this kind of high intensity going on inside of us that feels like almost a shaking. And that's this anxiety. And I've done other videos about anxiety around the concept of how it can be insidious, and maybe you don't even know you're anxious. But a lot of times when you're not remembering who you are, it's like everything else is happening around you, and there's, again, no anchor, and that can create this tremendous anxiety. The other piece that we can begin to feel is a sense of emptiness. I have so many women that say to me, I feel trapped in my own life, or I feel like I'm dying inside, right? We all know what that means. We've had moments of that. We often experience that when we're going through transition. And that's really a big piece of who these videos are for. Those who are going through that transition, which is all about discovering who you are, or maybe redefining or reinventing who you are based on a transition in your life. We're all going through massive transition right now, just based on the global stage and what's happening economically, politically, health and wellness wise, etc. Right? We are in this massive transition state. So these all may seem familiar to you. And one of the biggest antidotes is to remember who you are. So what are the benefits of actually remembering who you are? All right, the first one, and I think the most important one, is freedom. We all long for freedom. We are all talking about a longing for freedom in one way or another, right? I just mentioned the idea that we often feel trapped in our lives, or we feel like we're dying inside, and that's because we feel like somehow our life is encapsulated, or things are beyond our control, and we feel stuck, and we feel like we can't move forward, or we can't get past these old patterns and stories and habits. When we remember who we are, okay, and I've done other videos on remembering and like what it means to remember, but when we remember, when we really remember, we stop feeling unworthy, we stop thinking that we're not enough, we stop not believing in ourselves, and we begin to cultivate this tremendous freedom that allows us to do things we never would have thought otherwise that we could do before remembering who we are. The other piece is that it begins to connect us with our truth, with our true values, the true sense of meaning and purpose that we may feel, right? And we are all longing for that. We all want to have some kind of sense of purpose where we feel like we're making a difference, right? We're making an impact. Something matters about what we do or what we share or offer in the world. We all want that feeling. And that is part of what gives us freedom. When we remember who we are, we begin to remember our values and remember the path that we're really meant to be walking, right? And everything begins to shift, and we do feel even more of that sense of freedom even when we remember our values and we reconnect to those, right? And the final one that I want to mention is that when we remember who we are, we have the capacity to completely reinvent ourselves, rebirth ourselves. When we go through transitions, as humanity is going through right now, or maybe you're going through personally, maybe it's a loss of a loved one, maybe it's a new job, maybe it's a divorce, maybe it's a marriage, maybe it's empty nesting, right? These are transitions that we go through in our life that really often have us thinking, what now? Or how am I going to handle this? Or how do I do this? I've never done this before. I remember I wanted so much to become a mother. And when I did, it was like, oh boy, how do I do this? I don't really know what I'm doing, or I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. And how do I want to show up? It makes us pause to think about, how do we want to show up? And then from there, because we start remembering who we are, we begin to find ways of reinventing ourselves, right? The person who used to be scared of holding a baby is now learning how to be so nurturing and loving toward that baby, right? Or the person who was scared of living alone and being on their own after a divorce is now learning to reinvent themselves as someone who's okay being on their own and loving the quiet and learning to appreciate the stillness, right? There's so much that we can begin to do to rebirth ourselves and reinvent ourselves from that place of remembering, all right? So I'd love to hear your questions in the comments. Share any thoughts that you have about ways in which your own remembering maybe is unfolding, or where you're struggling with it. And be sure to subscribe. Let others know about this too. Please share the video and let others who might be struggling through transition know about ways in which they can continue to feel more empowered and supported. I want this channel to build a community and to build a connection of people on this path to feel more empowered and really remember who we are at our deepest core. Until next time.